Hi, I'm Matthew Neal. Sorry about the little James Bond there. I'm Matthew of Matthew Neal Photography, and this video, there are two things I want to address. First of all, why should your church, no matter what the size, why should your church do a church directory? And the second issue is why you should do it with me. So first, let's address why do a church directory at all. Especially the traditional hard copy directory has always had the reputation of being out of date pretty much as soon as it was published, because of changes within the church, unless you've got a very old, small congregation. And so that's always been an argument against it. And let's face it, the main reason for doing a church directory in the past, and even now, from the standpoint of an outside photographer, has been for what I consider as a photographer to be a very valid reason, and that is we want to provide professional portraits to families within the congregation. Most people will not pick up the phone, call a photographer, and set up a family photo session. And so it's a way of bringing portrait photography to the families. And that really is the basis. There are two things. One, a church directory does provide connection within the church. And that is the reason your church needs a directory. Especially if it's growing, or there are changes. I know I did one church directory and one of the little boys was like, well, why am I not in the picture? Why am I not in the directory? The one constant in the world is change. And so that's the reason for doing a church directory. Churches are supposed to be all about community, and that's the real value of a church directory, whether you do it the modern digital form or a printed form. It's ultimately, the directory itself is about building community within the church. And where that's really important is, first of all, depending on the size of your church, if you're a church that not everybody always knows each other. Sometimes the pastor is new. If you're new to a congregation, you may have people that you don't know how to get to their house, or have their phone number or up-to-date information, and it can be difficult to get all of that. And so a church directory overcomes all of these communication issues within a church. It helps people to communicate with each other and draws them closer together so that you can know names of people. And it's a lot easier to talk to somebody when you know their name going up to them than to say, "Hi, how are you?" Especially for ushers. And some people are easily offended, and so somebody comes in and maybe the usher doesn't recognize them. Well, it would be nice to have a way that the usher can look very quickly and see who's approaching the door. But then you also have the issue of the multi-charge parishes, where you've got several churches all served by the same pastor, and they're all relatively close to each other. And it's a way to draw those congregations close to each other so that they know each other within the various churches. And then in addition to that, you have churches that have multiple services. And I know as somebody who's been a member of churches that were large enough that we had multiple services, it was like different churches meeting within the same building, and there were people that you never saw them. Or the church I went to had evening services, and so a lot of times that's the only time you saw these other people was in the evening service, because in my case I was in children's ministry, and so I was, rather than being in the worship service, I was in the children's ministry during that worship service. So it's a way, a church directory is a way of bringing people together. Now, why, I think we can kind of establish that part. And then, of course, there's the other part, that it's a great way of preserving family history through professional portrait photography. And that's the other part that's a benefit to the families within the church. And in my case, I'm able to extend that beyond just the church to the community at large. Anybody you want to invite in, whether it's grandchildren, extended families, whatever, it's a great opportunity to bring professional portrait photography at an affordable level to people, and it overcomes that problem that a lot of people have, where they just don't ever think to or put into their schedule the idea of going to a professional photographer. And let's face it, it can be very expensive. Most photographers are. The mid-range photographer is pretty much gone. You either have, and even the really inexpensive photographers are gone. To the point that I've talked to people and they don't even remember the idea of the photographer who went into Kmart to photograph, or a few places in larger towns have the J.C. Penney studio, but you just don't have that low or medium end photographer anymore. You only have the ones that you spend on average $500 or more, and I can provide something that's a lot less expensive for that, and yet preserve those family portrait memories for people. So that's the other part of it, is bringing church community close, as well as creating those family memories and sharing those current memories with each other. So that's the benefit. Now, as far as why contact somebody like me, well, I bring something to the table beyond what the average would be. I'm not a large corporation. I'm an individual portrait and wedding photographer who specializes in volume photography. And what I want to do is I don't want to drag this out. So my next video, if you take a look, it's going to concentrate, not like this one did, on why to do a church directory. The next one is why you should contact me, why you should talk to me, what I have to offer. And then the third video will be the program itself and what makes it unique. So in the meantime, to contact me, if this was already enough that you look and you say, hey, let's just talk to the guy, we don't need to watch the other videos, let's contact him. Again, I'm Matthew Neal. I own Matthew Neal Photography, and my phone number is 217-828-2891. Again, that's area code 217. Phone number's 828-2891. And I can receive both voice and text. So if I don't pick up, just leave a message or send me a text. And my you'll see here on the email that you received, as well as here on YouTube, is a link to my email. If you're replying to the email you received, just scroll down and it'll say reply, and you just hit that little reply button and you can send me a message and I'll get back in touch with you. If you're watching this from YouTube, then you can scroll down and you'll see my email there. It's nealephotography@gmail.com. So, and if this video has got you thinking and it's worthwhile, go ahead and hit the like button as well, and I would appreciate that. So, until the next video, or until I talk to you in person, have a great day. Thank you.